Hello and welcome to Aviadev Insight Africa, the podcast offering a window to the world of African aviation with your host, John Howell, CEO and founder of Aviadev Africa. I'm sure by now that all our listeners are aware of how razor-thin profit margins can be in the aviation industry. And of course, in Africa, this is no different, as it's predicted that African carriers will continue to make a loss even in 2024. However, within this, there are notable exceptions. And it's no shock and no coincidence that a lot of these airlines that are making the profits are harnessing opportunities to increase revenue from other sources, specifically upselling using ancillary products. Put simply, it can make all the difference to profitability if the offering is of interest to the passenger and if it's easy for the passenger to add to the booking, but also for the airline to implement the technology. So today we're going to be diving into this topic quite widely and also quite specifically as well with Nick Ashton and Andrew Ridgway from Protect, the world leader in refundable booking protection. So welcome to the podcast, gents. Great to have you with us.
Thank you, John. Pleasure.
Yeah, so
Great, fantastic. So you're both going to be with us in Namibia in June. So that's only a matter of weeks away. So our listeners will be able to meet you and the whole team in person. But the idea of this is before we get there and before we get into the specifics of the product, we just want to get a flavor for who we're dealing with because you've both got quite a varied and deep industry experience. Nick, if we start with you, give us a little potted overview of all the things that you've done.
I'll do my best to restrain myself, but I also think I'm right in saying, is this my second or third appearance on one of your podcasts? So people go back to that and get the history up to a certain point, and then I'll fill in the gaps. So I was a graduate at British Airways back in 2007. I did 5 years there in a variety of functions. I was a customer service duty manager in T1 and T5 when T5 opened, and I'm sure lots of people listening know all about what happened then. I then went into network planning and then marketing. I also ended up flying when British Airways did its volunteer cabin crew program. I moved from there into the alliances team at British Airways and spent 18 months there and really started to develop a love for the idea of airline partnerships, which is a subject we have spoken about previously. From there, I moved to Qatar Airways, did a couple of years in their network strategy team before going down to Australia, working for Virgin Australia, looking after their relationship with Etihad and airlines in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. From there, I was approached by Vueling to become their head of alliances as part of the IAG group, and that was great to understand how alliances and partnerships are shaping up in this world of mergers, acquisitions, so on and so forth. 3 great years there, and when I was at Vueling, I introduced a platform from a company called DoHop, and that's where John and I, was it where we first came across each other, or was it slightly before?
Much. Just before, I think, but DoHop obviously was when you were involved with the Aviadev side of things, yeah.
That's right. I remember now, I was still at Vueling. I'd introduced the platform as an advocate, so I came on to talk about DoHop from the context of an airline. So I actually moved from Vueling to DoHop and spent a couple of years there looking after airline partnerships and industry affairs. And that was really important in this context because it was a move away from being at an airline into a company that's using technology, API technology specifically to deliver improvements for airlines. Specifically, this was for airline connectivity. So how a full service carrier can connect to a low cost carrier or 2 low cost carriers can connect to each other. And as I entered this world, I really began to develop my understanding of how we can better leverage technology to improve the customer proposition. So you touched on it then in your introduction. I was approached by Protect last summer and joined as their global airline lead in September. Now, I hope that was brief enough. I could go on a little bit more, but I'm sure people are more interested.
In a minute. Don't worry, Nick. Don't worry. Andy, you're a bit different. You come from the engineering side, right, and the civil aerospace side. So tell us about your background.
Yeah, so it's been a weird journey. So very much started out at the engineering side. I graduated with my master's in aviation engineering from Brunel University back in 2017. Worked for Airbus within the fuel and landing gear testing departments, and then did a longer stint with Rolls-Royce in the fuel spray nozzles department, very much working in a small development team going into production. So it was quite exciting, all the stuff we actually got to see and get involved with. And then, I made the drastic move to Cape Town to be with my now fiance. And that obviously forced a big career change, with there being next to no manufacturers in Cape Town itself. Everyone's based up in Johannesburg in aviation in South Africa. But Cape Town is much more beautiful in my opinion. And the last 4 years while I've been here, it's very much been in tech companies, mainly focused on blockchain and fintech, all startups. So have the opportunity to work 3 projects, very much trying to identify how loyalty can be improved, which I know a number of large-scale airlines are looking into that side. And then, very much missed working in the airline industry, and saw the opportunity with Protect to get back on the commercial side of aviation. Very much spreading myself around the aviation industry now, engineering, commercial. I'm not sure what will be next.
Yeah, the tech experience, obviously, for both of you has not been necessarily your grounding, but has definitely prepared you for what you're doing now. So I think that's really good context. And Protect did come to AviaDev last year. It wasn't you guys, but Protect were there. And I introduced it as the world leader in refundable booking protection. And the thing that jumps out at me is you don't use the term insurance. So talk to us about the elevator pitch of Protect. If somebody says, what is it? There's a clue in the name, but Nick, do you want to take this? What's the short explanation?
The short explanation, John, is that we make non-refundable bookings that airlines offer refundable. So we offer a dynamic product that is embedded on the airline's direct booking channels, be they web or mobile, against their non-refundable or semi-refundable fare products, to give the customer the choice to protect themselves in the event that they're not able to travel. It's what we call a cancel for many reasons service, because we recognize that life happens. People experience things, the emergencies that mean they can't travel. And just because they haven't purchased the higher class fare products doesn't mean that they don't want coverage. They don't want protection. So in a nutshell, that's what we do. We take those non-refundable and semi-refundable fare types that every airline offers and make them refundable.
Perfect. So Andy, coming to you on that and building on it from an African context as well, what is the current environment in Africa? I would assume that most of the fares that are sold are non-refundable fares, and they get the biggest uptake. So what's the kind of uptake of this, and the penetration level, the appetite for these customers to want to protect themselves as well for this, as you say, cancel for many reasons, because life does get in the way? I think we've all experienced that at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is an appetite for this product across Africa. Obviously, the region itself is quite prone to geopolitical issues, financial issues. Every penny counts for people across the African continent, and they do very much want to be protected. From what we've seen with our products in comparison to other insurance products that are offered in the ancillary revenue stream for airlines, is that we tend to get a higher conversion. Obviously, the conversion varies depending on the airline, but because Africa is built up of a lot of lower cost carriers, like you say, they offer non-refundable and semi-refundable tickets, and that's the highest uptake. So most people are always looking to opt in for a service like that.
Yeah, I think what you found is a lot of people still like to book. We know this with the way it works, that people like to go and see a physical travel agent, get a paper ticket, and they're willing to pay for that, rather than maybe the new generation, book on my phone, I trust the app, whatever it may be. That is definitely coming. But this is part of that, Nick. It's like feeling secure in your booking. And the big challenge is guaranteeing that they're confident that this product's going to work for them in that if something does go wrong.
Yeah, I'm going to take a step back to the last question and follow through that. So I have 4 young children. Now, when I was traveling before COVID, I with 4 young children, I'm going to go for the lowest fare type. It's expensive. So after moving out of airlines where I had the opportunity to use staff travel, for example, where it was less expensive, coming into the real world, oh wow. So when traveling with them, of course, I'm not going to be booking the most expensive tickets. But does that mean I don't want to be protected? Absolutely not. In fact, my risk profile has only increased. With 4 children, the chances of one of them, I don't know, getting a tummy ache is only increased. So The other thing with that, of course, is we then experienced COVID. So my personal propensity towards risk completely changed. Where previously I was happy to buy something and take a chance, after that, no way. And we saw all the issues that existed through COVID for airlines where customers wanted their money back because they weren't flying. So we did see that. We saw a significant change in traveling customers' appetite towards risk, appetite towards protecting themselves. Now, I think the second part there that you were touching on is how customers shop, how distribution is changing, and how they might want to protect themselves. Now, we exist in the digital channels, so in the web and mobile channels. The technology we have is best utilized in that space in terms of how we embed in a booking flow and how we're able to automate both the offer and the servicing of that product. And we are moving rapidly in this digital transformation age towards not just customers booking on web, but most interestingly for me, as I look at a continent like Africa, mobile as well. So what's really important for us is to make sure our product is available in the places where the airline customers are not only shopping today, but going to be shopping tomorrow.
I think that's fair. Yeah, exactly. And I think these customers have had different experiences, like you say, when it goes wrong and they want to apply and get their insurance back. So it's about building that trust. One of the things that I noticed when I was doing a bit of research is obviously a big thing for Protect is to get customer advocacy. So there's Trustpilot, which obviously is where people independently can review their experience once they've had some sort of problem, and it's incredible how many reviews you've had and how positive it is as well. That is one thing. I'm not sure how big that is as a stamp of approval in Africa. I'm not sure, but it is a global platform, of course. So has that been one of the biggest challenges, Andy, in terms of convincing the passengers that, yes, we know we can trust these guys, especially if they've had a bad experience? And also, what's their general feeling on insurance? Because I know that's not always, it's not like it is in other parts of the world where everybody has insurance for everything, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think insurance has this negative connotation to it nowadays. And unfortunately, rightly, because it is very focused on loss ratio for the insurance companies. So they're always trying to minimize their loss. Whereas Protect Group being a non-insurance service, we're constantly focusing on the customer first, hence why the Trustpilot score is rated so well, because at the end of the day, that's what we're here to do. We're very customer-centric, make sure the customers get the refunds. On a global average at the moment, we're averaging payment to the people's bank accounts in about 4 hours. With our semi-automated AI refund process, that can be done within minutes. So once you've uploaded your evidence, included your bank details, if the AI approves it, the money can be there within 5 to 10 minutes. And people, as I mentioned, especially within the African continent, people these days, they want the option to get their money back rather than maybe credits and vouchers, or even just knowing that it could take months through going through an insurance process and not getting 100% of the amount because of all the T's and C's in the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, we know that conversion comes from repeat custom, and that comes from happy customers. So there's essentially two parts to this. One, placing the service in the booking flow so that customers know about it and optimizing that. But two, delivering a high quality service. Now, if we don't do that, the customers aren't coming back, the conversion rate's dropping, the airline satisfaction is going down. That doesn't happen. We're fully focused on delivering a customer-centric service, both in terms of offering that through the booking flow and then servicing that when the customer needs to make a claim. And that is reflected in the Trustpilot scores. It is reflected in the feedback that we get, not just in the airline industry, but in all the different verticals that we work in. So just for clarity, we didn't touch on this earlier, Protect's background is in different industries. So whether it was events or ticketing, anywhere essentially where you can purchase a non-refundable product. So if you think about it, music events or a sports event, how much protection have you got? There was a big football game on the weekend, wasn't there, John?
I believe so.
We weren't going to talk too much about Manchester United or things like that, but a window of opportunity has arisen here. It is a good example where lots of people pay a lot of money for a ticket where you don't have protection. It's non-refundable. In the event you can't go, what's your best hope? Maybe the reseller market, but no. And it's very much that. How can we give the customer the sense of protection, peace of mind that in the event that they can't make it, then they are covered? I think there's Man United fans, lots of Man United fans who probably didn't want to make it on Sunday.
That's it. I was going to say, do you refund for terrible performance by the team?
Compensate them.
That would be a good product. Yeah. The two things that I can hear, obviously, we have revenue managers, commercial directors from airlines attending AviaDev, listening to the podcast. The two things that I think they'll be asking, number one is integration of the technology and how do they manage that? How easy is it? Who does it? Who deals with these refunds? Are their customer services going to be chock-a-block with people ringing when there's cancellations? That's number one. The second one is, will it, from a revenue management perspective, remove either the opportunity or the need for them to sell different types of fares, or will they just sell non-refundable fares and then you provide the protection and people either opt in or don't opt in? Like, how do they cope with this? Because you've obviously implemented this with multiple airlines, but they're the two questions. One's an integration and one's a kind of revenue management question.
I think there's three questions in there. The first is the integration, the second is the servicing, and the third is the RM piece. So I'll take the integration piece first. You might dovetail here, Andy. If you want to take the middle piece, then I'll take the RM bit. And they're all good questions. So from an integration point of view, the most important thing is that we are surfaced in the airline's booking flow. So web and mobile booking flow. So of course, every airline has a reservation system. Every airline has an internet booking engine, and often they can be different. So we work with both reservation systems and intermediaries who provide those internet booking engines to surface what we call our dynamic widgets. So we're integrated with the likes of Sabre and their Digital Connect platform and other res systems, other intermediaries, so that we're able to place that dynamic widget at the end of the booking flow. Now, what's particularly cool about this is with that integration, we're able to take various different inputs through the booking flow. We know who your customer is. We're able to look at certain parts of the profile, where they're traveling from, what age are they, etc., to optimize the offer of the product at the end of the booking flow. So as you go to checkout, you will see the Refund Protect option placed there. Now, another point to make that's really important, and you touched on upselling ancillaries. Of course, every airline at the moment is looking at its ancillary product portfolio. As we develop as retailers, as we develop as customer-centric retailers, how can we personalize? How can we give the customers more of what they want? Now, Refund Protect, we know, is just one element of a number of different things that airlines really don't just want to, but need to offer to the customers. That could be anything from an eSIM to car hire, etc. But really, this is about personalization. This is about customization. But the really cool thing is we protect everything. So whatever you add in the booking flow, by the time you arrive at the checkout, we've covered everything that goes into the basket. So that is done with deep integrations, either the reservation system or the intermediary. I'll hand over to Andy for the customer servicing piece, but the really important part here is that we don't just integrate to offer the product, we have the back-end integration so we can service the product. Right. So for example, when the customer, and I'll touch on this in the revenue management piece as well, when the customer claims a refund and it's actioned, we're able to automatically notify you that that has happened. So you can use that information as necessary. And then on the flip side, if, for example, a flight is cancelled or something material changes, if there's a trigger event that impacts on that booking, we're aware of that and can act accordingly. I mean it when I say we look after your customers in entirety.
Perfect. So Andy, from the customer servicing then, tell us.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, even though we're one of the many companies now using AI, we've been using it for quite a long time. So as I mentioned, the refund process for the customer is semi-automated. So it's pre-populated with your booking info. The only information that's further required from the customer is the evidence and then the bank details, just so we can directly pay that customer into their bank. If say the AI doesn't match up and doesn't auto-approve the claim, which it auto-approves about 80% currently, it then goes through to our customer services team. And we actually have people in our customer services team. It's not a chat bot named Larry. There is literally teams all over the world running 24/7 to actually speak to the customers whose claim didn't get approved by the AI. And as we've mentioned throughout this discussion, again, they're more focused on trying to help the customer and pay the refund than the opposite. If the AI refuses it, usually maybe there's a mismatch, they entered it incorrectly, or the information just doesn't align, or they didn't have any evidence. But our customer services team here are very customer centric, very much focused on the humans, and more often than not, because that's it, just a few desks away from them, you can hear them arguing for the customer with our head of refunds to try and give them a refund, even when they don't have evidence. And more often than not, they do, because Nick says, if we don't service your customers, keep your customers happy, then the conversion will go down, the airlines won't generate revenue, and nobody wins. That's basically the crux of it.
Right, fantastic. So the AI piece is doing a lot of the heavy lifting.
Absolutely.
If it matches up, you don't ever need to worry, and that's how you're able to process the payment so quickly.
Absolutely, and that's a key differential to insurance. So traditional travel insurance policies and claiming against those. So how do we leverage that AI to make sure that any claim is actioned as quickly as possible? Now, I'm sure you've had to claim on travel insurance as a traveller in the past for something that's happened, and you know what the timelines associated against that are like, and are you going to get everything back? My latest example was losing some AirPods. What are AirPods? AirPods on a flight from, where was it, Bogota to New York. 9 months later, after losing them, I was still going through the process of trying to claim. The process, and we're not even talking about getting paid out here. I'm having to fill additional forms out. Come on. There's a better way of doing it, and that's what we do.
And you were out of pocket in the interim, so you had to buy another set, right? So it's even if you get the cash and you get the support and it goes through, it's so far after the fact. You need that. You want that back, as Andy said. That's super important in terms of this. But it also builds the loyalty. I think the loyalty point is a really important takeaway that I'm getting here. Is we know how important that is in Africa. Partly there are certain routes where there's only one or two carriers. You're going to be stuck. If you want to do that journey, you've got to use them. But we know it makes a big difference. And obviously you're seeing that with loyalty, that Kenya Airways create their own loyalty scheme. Airlink has done their own loyalty scheme. It's coming. It's definitely something that they see as a differentiating factor. So talk to us about the revenue management side, Nick. How do they manage?
I will, but I'm going to come on to the loyalty piece and then go to revenue management. So you probably need to ask the revenue management question again, because for me, loyalty is about knowing your customer, truly knowing your customer. And the example I always use is Tesco Club Card. Tesco know who I am and what I'm doing, and are able to present offers to me that talk to me directly. It's the best example of personalisation I've seen. So the example I use is a loaf of bread. I buy the normal orange toasty bread, Tesco's own, 75p. And every so often they'll discount it for me, and that's great. But every so often they'll put an offer in for I'm allowed to say the name? And of course I buy that. And it's using technology, using a customer profile to put an offer in front of them that really matters. And if you think about airline loyalty programs traditionally, are they really doing that? Are they really doing that? For me, loyalty is all about putting the best possible offer in front of the customer and then servicing it as and when required. So I think we play a part in that. But the revenue management piece, coming back to that. So essentially, we work against three different fare types: good, better, best. So good could be non-refundable, better could be semi-refundable, best fully flexible. Now, we know that the vast majority of customers are traveling in the first two. Even in a very high yield environment, which we're seeing across the world at the moment, it's those two where the vast majority of volume is seen. The key for us is obviously offering the customer the protection, the opportunity to protect themselves, but also to work with the airlines to make sure it is priced accordingly. It's priced in such a way that it's going to be attractive. It's going to be a why not piece. Now, if we look at the price differentials between those three different fare products, they are quite large, especially on the flexible fare types. But what we do is we work very closely with the airlines to make sure that especially the revenue management teams, to make sure that this is being placed and priced. So we're optimizing. Two really important points with the product with our service are that when a customer claims a refund before the flight is taken and it's actioned, that back-end notification piece means the airline is able to resell the seats. And that's really important. We spoke before about upselling through ancillaries. Well, another important part of that is upselling on the aircraft itself. Now, if the seat's empty, you're not upselling anything. So by being able to offer Refund Protect to the customer and then notify the airline so they can resell the seat, the airline is able to not only keep the revenue that it was getting from the customer originally, because we've refunded that, they've also got the opportunity to resell that seat. Now, what's been really interesting as I've discussed this further with different airlines is if you think about the fully flexible fare products, for example, there's actually an opportunity here, because essentially the airline's owning the liability. So if I'm sat on a fully flexible fare product and the day before somebody is traveling, they decide, I don't want to, I can't, then you're on the hook to refund the whole amount. Generally, it's a lot higher. Your ability to resell that seat in that time window is limited, and that seat's going empty. So there'll be some interesting discussions there, and as all the airlines in Africa and across the world, there's a lot of thinking around different fare products, different fare types, and how you balance that through the ladder. And a huge part of this is as we move into a world of offers and orders and dynamic pricing, it's really about this. It's about knowing your customers and ensuring that not only are you offering the right products and services, you're offering it at the right price. Yeah. So a long way to go on this as we go we're all going through this journey of NDC, offers, orders, but we're involved in that world in the context of ancillaries and excited to work very closely with airlines to optimize in this regard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think about that right products conversation, because you've worked globally and you've done a lot in Europe and a lot in the US, and it's a much more mature market when it comes to ancillaries in terms of what people are willing to buy and what they are offered in the process. You book a ticket with Ryanair, you're offered hotels, you're offered car hire, you're offered everything. In Africa, predominantly, the thing that people want, they either expect in the package or they will buy is luggage. That's the number one thing. Yeah. But probably coming second is your protection, is some sort of protection from losing the entire booking. So it does seem to be the right kind of product, and we're not quite getting there from an ancillary perspective. But as I said in the intro, what an opportunity for these airlines, because if you can use a third-party API integration, you're not doing the work and you're getting something. As a result, you're maximizing what you can get from that customer. But rather than seeing it squeezing everything out, you're actually offering them what they want, that personalization and a single point where they can gather all of this together. But the Protect product, you were saying, covers the whole lot. If they buy everything through that booking process, they'll be covered for you.
That's correct. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And John, just to touch on being a bit more specific on Africa, more often than not, since I've been here working in different industries and even speaking to people in the airline industry, is every country in Africa has its own unique problems and own unique solution. Because, for example, in South Africa, we obviously have load shedding here, which is a big play on how companies operate, how things work, etc. And I think one of the key things in building loyalty in Africa, especially for airlines, which is something that I know a lot of African airlines have been focusing on because they're very much publishing all the results. And Airlink, for example, have been making a good job of making everyone aware that they're the highest on-time performer as an airline. And that is something that's crucial in the African market because, like Nick said, most people will be buying non-refundable and semi-refundable tickets. Their first decision on buying a ticket will be price, and then anything afterwards that they want to add on will be an emotional decision, such as if they want protection to cover that money to make sure they get their money back. And it's really unique and it's really interesting to see. And again, I'm speaking more specifically for South Africa than Africa in general, purely based on previous research that have been done in other positions. But South Africa, I think 187% of the total population have active mobile phone connections. 96% of people use WhatsApp here. Like the amount of business that goes through WhatsApp, payments, orders, etc., is through the roof. And one thing that obviously we see with airlines around the world is that they can be quite slow to maybe adopting something like that. But for African Airlines, I think to get ahead, adopting a solution where you can book through WhatsApp, where you can refund through WhatsApp, using that tool to your power could be something incredible for the airlines.
So you're right. I've worked in lots of different regions with lots of different airlines, and in alliances I'm exposed. I have been exposed to many, but the one continent I wasn't really was Africa. And what's been fascinating, and be working closely with Ethiopian were our first full service carrier, is to understand their mix, how they're distributing their channel mix, and just how high mobile penetration is, for example, far higher than we see for other airlines in different parts of the world. Building on Andy's point, the most important thing for us is to know your customer, know where they're shopping, and know what they want. Now, what's equally fascinating about whether it's Ethiopian or other network carriers in Africa is, whilst we're talking about the continent and African customers, increasingly these airlines are having to work with customers globally. So the importance of understanding this from a global perspective is paramount as well. But bringing it back to Africa, we have a responsibility to understand how African customers are shopping, what products they want, and how to deliver the product to them in the booking flow, wherever they're searching, and then to service according to their requirements. Now, as we go on this journey into a world of offers and orders, it's equally imperative to understand the customer in Windhoek or Tangier as it is in New York or London. It really is around personalizing, understanding that customer and putting a product and service in that talks to them. So we talked about ancillary strategies previously. If you actually look at most airlines now when they offer ancillary products or even RM products, it's very static. It's clunky. We're not really showing we know the customer. We're expecting the customer to fit in to the services and products that we offer. And that is changing. It's changing rapidly. We've seen some huge news in the last week across the industry, whether it's British Airways and Nevio, Delta and Excelia, where the biggest players in the industry are going, okay, we need to get better at this world of merchandising. We must get better at this world of retailing. We must get better at knowing the customer and putting products and services in front of them that they want. Now, Nirvana is the truly customized offer, but we're a little way away from that.
Yeah.
Really what it's about is contextualized offers. So giving people choice, giving them the option to select things that are relevant to them. So what example could I get? Let's just say I'm, if you know me, I'm a frequent flyer. I'm flying into the north of the UK. I love sport. Are you able to offer a ticket to Liverpool? Because I like them, it's in my profile somewhere, and not Manchester United. It's that kind of, I'm going out there in terms of an example, but do that. I'm going there. If I like it, why wouldn't you offer something? Why wouldn't you work with partners to potentially put something in front of them? And this is what we see in different verticals. So if you're going to go and see Taylor Swift in Singapore, what are you going to need? you're going to need to fly there. You're going to need to get a hotel. We need to put a contextualized offer in front of you. And my word, when you're doing all these things, what's the one thing you want for such an emotive purchase? Protection.
Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely. I think the two things there, number one is that it's embracing the digitization. I'm just on my desk here. I have a lovely Ethiopian Airlines selection of post-it notes. I got given this the reason I bring it up is I got given it when they launched their mobile app, which wasn't that long ago. It wasn't that many years ago. Yeah. But I think that the first thing to say is that, as you said, Andy, the future is going to where the customers are, where they engage, where they shop, how they behave. And it's a trite example, but it's a little bit like the podcast, right? So we're going to put this podcast out. It will be on YouTube. It will be on Spotify. It will be on Apple. It will be on Google. It will be on wherever you want it. You will be able to find it. Yeah. As opposed to saying, if you want my product, you have to go here.
Yeah.
But also, what are you doing as a result of that? You are reducing the middlemen. You are reducing those intermediary costs because you're able to capture people directly. But then finally, you're also understanding their behavior so that eventually you can start to service them with personalized offers. So if you've never flown with me before, Nick, I don't know what to offer you. But if you're taking your 10th flight, I've learned your behavior. I go, he might want to pay $50 to go in the lounge before. He might need a transfer. He might need a hotel. And that's where the sophistication comes in. But ultimately, from a revenue perspective, if you can capture more passengers directly and reduce the need for third parties, you get to keep more of the cash. It's as simple as that. So direct is the future and protect is part of that because you're focusing and you're able to plug into their direct methods rather than anything else, plus cover everything that they book through that channel as well.
We're just developing a retailing proposition. We're a small part that develops that proposition. And I spoke before about how we sell today and how we sell tomorrow. And my biggest barometer here is my children. So I watch the way my children interact with life in general. Now, it could be watching sport, it could be doing something or other. The way they shop is going to be completely different as well. So the most important thing is exactly what you said. And if we look at social media, if we look at other examples, they know exactly who you are. They know exactly who you are and what you want.
It's quite bizarre. That's why it's free, because they want to know you.
But this is it. It's what we want to do in this world of contextualized offers is get to know you a bit better and then make sure we're doing that, whether it's a lounge, whether it's protection, whether it's an eSIM. This is what we're pretty sure we know you want. And that for me is true loyalty. That for me is true loyalty. So how can we develop that offer so that it's attractive to you? But equally, if not more importantly, when you do choose to avail yourself of a service such as Refund Protect, in the event that you need to use it, you are serviced quickly, you are serviced efficiently, and you are serviced in such a way that you will keep coming back in terms of purchasing the product because you've got that protection. That is true loyalty.
And as an airline, you're not having to deal with that. You're not seeing it at all because you're not. It's being handled by your partners at Protect and the AI and all the rest of it.
Yes.
So you've got.
Just to be clear, we handle it, but we ensure that the airline knows what is going on, so that when that refund is actioned, your inventory, the booking is updated, and your inventory essentially is updated as well. That's the importance of these dynamic integrations at the back end. So it's I'll keep saying this, it's not just about offering the service and trying to get as much money off you as possible. It's about developing the customer proposition with the service because we know conversion comes from repeat custom. And that's what we've seen with Ethiopian. We're very proud of our relationship with them. We've been working with them for a year and the conversion rates have been fantastic, absolutely fantastic when compared to other ancillary products that are offered in the booking flow. So it's of critical importance for us to make sure that we are delivering the most optimized service and servicing to ensure that customers, traveling customers and the airline themselves are always keen to offer the product.
One thing I was just going to add on, because we're a white label solution as well, more often than not, people have no idea who we are. And it's a customer enhancement service for the airline. That is our service offering, that's our delivery. And that's what we aim to do. We don't want to take the credit. We don't want to pull your customers out the booking flow. We want to make it as simple and easy for them to just be like, this is the protection I want, and it's with Ethiopian, essentially. That's what they tend to think. No. Yeah, we don't want to take any credit or attention away from the airline whatsoever.
No, great. Okay.
We extend the fair terms and conditions.
Yeah, exactly. You're plugging in rather than being part of something separate that comes in as a third party. So that's what the passengers then say, oh, this sounds great. I can add that onto my booking. It's all through Ethiopian. And obviously having Ethiopian as a kind of flagship is no bad thing when you speak to the airlines in Windhoek in June as well. So having you guys with us there.
Yeah, not at all. Like I said, we're very proud to work with them. We've seen some fantastic successes in the year that we've been working together. We're looking forward to further up and developing the relationship. And for me personally, to get to know the guys down in Addis and spend a bit of time there and learn more about the airline, the country, the continent has been a wonderful opportunity. And to have that chance to come down to Windhoek and spend time with yourself and all the different airline people and people in related industries is something I'm particularly looking forward to.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Obviously, as I said at the beginning, the team will be with us in Windhoek. You can meet Andy, Nick, and Senna, I think, is going to come down as well. But on the back of this conversation, if anybody wants to find out more or get hold of you guys, where do they go, Andy? Where are we going to send them?
So you can contact us on LinkedIn, or you can just reach out directly to our emails. So mine's Andrew at Protect Group, and Nick's is Nick A at Protect Group. Very straightforward. But other than that, yeah, we do have a website, refundable.me, and we do have contact details there too. But yeah, by all means, reach out to us on LinkedIn or contact via our email address.
Perfect. I'll put those links in the show notes. So anybody listening, just go into the show notes. There'll be a hyperlink to take you straight through to the profiles or the email addresses and the website as well. And then, of course, we've got a few weeks now for you to start those conversations, reach out to the guys ahead of the event in Windhoek when you'll get to see them in person. So thank you both for being with us today and sharing the story. It's exciting times and it's only just the start. Yeah, great to have you with us. Thanks for being great guests.
John, much appreciated. Thank you for your time. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much, John.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Nick. So thank you, everybody out there, for listening today. If you did enjoy the conversation, do hit the share button now. Share it with somebody in your network you think would benefit from having a listen. Don't forget to reach out to the guys as well. And we will see you for the next episode very soon. Take care. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.